Imagine yourself looking at a beautiful painting of a peaceful giant. It has bright colors, reds, oranges, and whites. It looks calm. It looks safe. But then you step closer, and you realize the paint is moving, the colors are screaming, and the giant is actually a monster. That is Jupiter. For a long time, we thought Jupiter was just a big, boring ball of gas that protected Earth from asteroids. We thought it was the king of planets, strong and stable. We were wrong. NASA's Juno spacecraft just flew closer to Jupiter than we have ever dared to go before. And what it found down there isn't gas, it isn't friendly, and it definitely isn't what we learned in school. It found a planet that is eating itself from the inside out. It found massive storms arranged in perfect, impossible shapes. And it found a core that is so broken and messy, it looks like Jupiter survived a massive cosmic car crash. Something strange is happening on Jupiter right now. And trust us, you are going to want to see this. Let's dive in. The suicide mission. To understand why we are suddenly rewriting the textbooks, you have to understand the machine that made it possible. For decades, we were scared of Jupiter. Every probe we sent, Voyager, Galileo, Cassini, kept its distance. Why? Because Jupiter is radioactive. It is surrounded by a radiation belt so intense that it fries electronics in seconds. Getting close to Jupiter is like flying a drone into a microwave oven. But in 2011, NASA decided to stop being scared. They launched a suicide mission. They called it Juno. Juno is a tank. It's an armored beast. Its computer brain is locked inside a 400-pound titanium vault just to keep the radiation out. And its mission was simple: dive. Unlike other probes that orbit safely around the equator, Juno performs death dives. It screams over the North Pole, skims the clouds at 130,000 miles per hour, closer than we have ever been, and then shoots out the South Pole before the radiation can kill it. It has done this over 50 times, and every time it survives, it sends back data that makes scientists scream. Because the first thing Juno realized when it looked below the clouds was terrifying. The clouds aren't just clouds, they are the lid of a blender. And someone just hit high. Before we look at the storms, we need to understand the terror of the planet itself. On Earth, if you fall through a cloud, you eventually hit the ground. You might break your legs, but you stop falling. On Jupiter, there is no ground. There is no surface. If you were wearing a spacesuit and you fell into Jupiter, you would never stop falling. You would just descend into a nightmare. At first, you would fall through the white ammonia clouds. It's minus 150 degrees. It's freezing. But as you fall deeper, the pressure starts to crush you. The atmosphere gets thicker. It turns into a dense fog, then a hot soup. And this transition is the weirdest part. You don't splash into an ocean. The gas just gets thicker and thicker until it becomes a supercritical fluid. It's a state where matter is confused. It acts like a gas and a liquid at the same time. You would just float in this crushing, hot darkness, unable to tell if you were swimming or flying. About 10,000 miles down, the hydrogen gas you are falling through gets squeezed so hard that it stops being a gas. But it doesn't become a solid rock. It becomes liquid metallic hydrogen. This is a state of matter that doesn't exist naturally on Earth. It is a dense, flowing ocean of liquid metal. It conducts electricity. It glows. This isn't a crust you can stand on. It's a crushing, boiling ocean of metal that spins around the planet at thousands of miles per hour. This metallic ocean is the engine of Jupiter. It's what generates the massive magnetic field that protects the planet. But it also means that Jupiter is essentially a planet-sized drop of liquid metal held together by gravity. So when we talk about storms on Jupiter, we aren't talking about wind blowing over hills. We're talking about currents in a deep, bottomless ocean of gas and metal, and the weather in that ocean is absolutely lethal. Let's talk about that weather. You probably know about the Great Red Spot. We'll get to that dying monster later. But the real horror show is happening in the clouds you can't see. Juno discovered a new type of lightning. On Earth, lightning happens in water clouds. But on Jupiter, Juno saw lightning flashing way too high in the atmosphere, places where it's too cold for liquid water to exist. It didn't make sense. It was like seeing lightning strike from a clear blue sky. NASA scratched their heads until they realized it's not water, it's ammonia. Here is the nightmare fuel. High up in Jupiter's sky, there is an invisible layer of ammonia gas. When storms kick up water from below, that water mixes with the ammonia. Now, ammonia acts like antifreeze. It melts the ice. So, you get this slush. A toxic freezing slush made of water and ammonia. As this slush falls through the sky, it freezes on the outside, but stays liquid on the inside. It forms hail, but not normal hail. NASA calls them mushballs. Imagine a baseball. Now imagine that baseball is made of toxic sludge, wrapped in ice, and is falling at hundreds of miles per hour. These mushballs get heavy. They plummet deep, hundreds of miles down into the dark abyss of the planet. As they fall, they grow. They become massive, sticky hailstones that punch through the cloud decks below. They strip the ammonia out of the upper atmosphere and drag it down into the depths. This explains why Jupiter's upper atmosphere looks patchy. The planet is literally throwing snowballs at its own core. And the lightning? That shallow lightning is sparking off these falling mushballs. It's a hailstorm of toxic sludge that never ends. Imagine a storm that drops poison ice for centuries. That is a Tuesday on Jupiter. But if you think toxic hail is bad, wait until you see the stripes, because those stripes go deeper than we ever imagined. When you look at Jupiter through a telescope, you see stripes, beautiful bands of white and orange wrapped around the planet. We call them belts, the dark ones, and zones, the white ones. For 400 years, astronomers thought these stripes were just surface features, like clouds on Earth. We thought they were shallow, maybe 50 or 60 miles deep, just a thin skin of weather sitting on top of the planet. Juno proved us wrong. Juno used its gravity instruments to weigh the wind, and it found that these stripes are deep. They extend 2,000 miles, 3,000 kilometers, down into the planet. That is deeper than the distance from New York to Los Angeles. These aren't just clouds. They are massive, rotating cylinders of gas. Imagine a stack of washers or cylinders nested inside each other, spinning at different speeds. That is Jupiter. The entire planet is a series of rotating cylinders that grind against each other as they spin. This immense mass of moving gas creates a vibration. If you could put your ear against the planet, you would hear a low, thrumming hum, the sound of billions of tons of atmosphere grinding against itself. It is a planetary heartbeat made of wind, and where these cylinders rub together, you get chaos, you get shear, you get storms that can swallow Earth whole. The weather on Jupiter isn't just atmospheric, it is structural. The wind is part of the planet's body, and at the bottom of these 2,000-mile deep winds, the gas turns into that liquid metal we talked about. The winds hit a magnetic wall and stop. It acts like a solid floor, breaking the winds and churning the energy back up to the surface. This discovery changed everything. It means Jupiter isn't just a gas ball. It's a fluid machine with moving parts that are thousands of miles thick. Nature hates straight lines, rivers curve, trees branch, clouds are fluffy and chaotic. So, when Juno flew over Jupiter's North Pole for the first time, the scientists expected to see a mess. They expected a chaotic swirl of storms like a pot of boiling soup. That is not what they saw. They saw a pattern, a perfect, impossible pattern. At the dead center of the North Pole, there is a giant cyclone about the size of the United States, and surrounding it are 8 other cyclones, but they aren't just floating randomly. They are arranged in a perfect octagon. Each of these 8 storms is about 2,500 miles wide. They're all spinning in the same direction. They are smashing against each other, rubbing shoulders, but they never merge. On Earth, hurricanes merge. If two storms hit, they become one big storm. On Jupiter, these storms are trapped. They are locked in a gravitational dance, like gears in a machine. They bump and grind, but they stay in their lanes. It gets weirder. Juno flew to the South Pole. Down there, it's different. There is a central storm, but it's surrounded by 5 storms, a perfect pentagon. Why an octagon on top and a pentagon on the bottom? We don't know. Fluid dynamics says this shouldn't be stable. It's like stirring your coffee and having the foam spontaneously arrange itself into a perfect square. It breaks the rules of chaos. These crystal storms suggest that something deep inside the planet, something we can't see, is guiding them. Like a magnetic leash holding a pack of wolves in a perfect circle. And speaking of magnets, that is where the real violence is happening. Everyone knows the Great Red Spot. It's famous, but Juno found something else. Something invisible to the human eye, but blindingly bright to magnetic sensors. They call it the Great Blue Spot. This isn't a cloud, it's a magnetic bruise. Jupiter has the strongest magnetic field in the solar system. It's 20,000 times stronger than Earth's. If you could see it with your eyes, it would look bigger than the moon in our night sky. Usually, magnetic fields are simple. They have a north pole and a south pole, like a bar magnet. But Jupiter is broken. The magnetic field isn't coming from the core. It's coming from a weird, invisible spot near the equator. This blue spot is a region of intense, concentrated magnetic flux. It's like a second south pole popping out of the planet's waistline. And here is the scary part. It's moving. Juno has been watching it drift eastward. It is being torn apart by the deep winds of the planet. This tells us something profound. On Earth, our magnetic field is generated deep in the core. On Jupiter, the generator is closer to the surface. It means the surface of Jupiter, the metallic hydrogen ocean we talked about, is flowing. It is churning. The planet is essentially a giant electric dynamo that is short-circuiting. And this invisible blue spot is evidence that the guts of the planet are not stable. They are shifting. But the magnetic weirdness doesn't stop there. It creates something high above the planet that screams into the void. On Earth, we have auroras, the northern lights. They are beautiful, silent curtains of light caused by the solar wind hitting our atmosphere. Jupiter has auroras too, but they aren't silent, and they aren't just light. They are X-rays. Jupiter's auroras pulsate. Every 27 minutes, like clockwork, they blast a massive burst of X-ray radiation into space. It's like a lighthouse beacon made of death rays. For years, we didn't know what was powering this. Solar wind isn't strong enough. Juno found the culprit. It's not the sun, it's Io. Io is one of Jupiter's moons. It is the most volcanic place in the solar system. It is constantly erupting, spewing tons of sulfur and volcanic gas into space every second. This gas gets caught in Jupiter's magnetic field. It gets superheated into plasma. This plasma forms a giant donut shape around Jupiter called the 𝗹𝗀 torus. But it gets crazier. There is an invisible electrical connection called a flux tube that connects Io directly to Jupiter's poles. Imagine a giant invisible lightning bolt that never stops. Millions of amps of current flow through this tube, slamming plasma into Jupiter's atmosphere. Basically, Jupiter is electrocuting itself with its own moon's vomit. The result is an aurora so powerful that it creates a hiss or a scream in radio waves. Juno recorded this sound. It sounds like an alien language. It is the sound of a planet that is literally radiating energy into the dark. A quick request. We are talking about a planet that rains ammonia, has geometric storms, screams in radio waves, and is magnetically broken. We are rewriting the science books in real time. If you are enjoying this deep dive, please do us a huge favor and smash that subscribe button. It helps us grow and bring exciting videos for you. Now, let's get back to the Jupiter mystery. Before Juno, we had a simple picture of Jupiter. We thought it was like a peach. Skin on the outside eye, E. Clouds. Fruit in the middle, i.e. metallic hydrogen. And a hard pit in the center, i.e. a rock or ice core. Simple, elegant, makes sense. Juno took that picture and ripped it to shreds. Juno measured the gravity of Jupiter with extreme precision. It mapped how the mass is distributed deep inside, and the data came back weird. There is no pit. There is no hard, solid ball of rock in the center. Instead, the core is fuzzy. Scientists call it a dilute core. Imagine taking a peach and putting it in a blender. The pit gets shattered and mixed into the fruit. You can't tell where the pit ends and the fruit begins. That is Jupiter's core. It is a diffuse, messy soup of rock, ice, and metallic hydrogen that spreads out across half the planet's radius. This shouldn't happen. Gravity should have pulled the heavy rocks to the center and kept them there. Something prevented the core from settling. Something stirred the pot. How do you stir a planet? You hit it. Hard. The leading theory, which is the most terrifying, is that about 4.5 billion years ago, when Jupiter was just a baby, it got hit. Not by an asteroid, not by a comet, by a planet. We think a protoplanet something about 10 times the mass of Earth slammed head-on into Jupiter. This was a cosmic car crash. The impact was so violent that it shattered Jupiter's original solid core. It smashed the rock and mixed it with the gas envelope. Jupiter is a cannibal. It ate another planet, and it has been suffering from indigestion for 4 billion years. That fuzzy core is the remains of its victim, still floating around, refusing to settle. While the core is messy, the face of Jupiter is changing too. The Great Red Spot. For 300 years, this storm has been the icon of the solar system. It's a hurricane twice the size of Earth. It has raged since before the American Revolution. But it is dying. In the late 1800s, the spot was massive, about 25,000 miles wide. You could fit 3 Earths inside it side by side. Today, it's barely 10,000 miles wide. It is shrinking. It is getting rounder and taller. And recently, amateur astronomers noticed something weird. The spot is flaking. Red blades of gas are peeling off the edge of the storm and spinning away to die. It looks like the storm is unraveling. Juno flew right over the spot to see what was happening. It used microwaves to look under the storm. It found that the roots of the red spot go deep, over 200 miles down. It's deeper than Earth's oceans. It acts like a heat engine, pumping heat from the interior up to the sky. But despite its depth, the walls are closing in. The winds are speeding up. The center is calming down. Some models predict that within our lifetime, maybe in the next 20 to 50 years, the Great Red Spot could disappear completely. Imagine looking up at Jupiter and seeing nothing, just white stripes. The famous red eye, gone. It's a reminder that these planets aren't static paintings. They are living, dying, violent worlds, and we are lucky to be alive in the brief window of time where the red spot exists. But Juno isn't just looking at the planet, it's looking at the neighbors. Because the weirdness of Jupiter is spilling over onto its moons. Jupiter is a bully. Its gravity is so strong that it literally stretches and squeezes its moons. This squeezing creates heat. On the moon Io, this heat creates volcanoes. Io is the most volcanic place in the solar system. It is literally turning itself inside out every few days because Jupiter keeps squeezing it like a stress ball. But on the moon Europa, the squeezing does something better. It melts the ice. Juno did a flyby of Europa recently. It sent back the sharpest images of the ice shell we have ever seen, and what we see are cracks, chaos terrain, places where the ice has broken apart and refrozen. This confirms that under that shell, there is a global ocean of liquid water. And because Jupiter is bombarding Europa with radiation, that surface chemistry is getting interesting. Oxygen is being created on the surface and cycled down into the ocean. Jupiter's radiation might be the fuel for life on Europa. The monster might be a creator. This is why NASA just launched the Europa Clipper. It's on its way right now. Juno was the scout. Clipper is the biologist. It's going to taste the water spraying out of Europa's cracks. When we started this journey, we thought Jupiter was just a big gas planet. But honestly, I think we need a new word for it. A planet sounds nice. It sounds safe, like Earth. Jupiter is definitely not safe. It's a failed star. It's a cannibal that ate other planets to get this big. It's a monster that throws poisonous snowballs at its own heart. Juno looked past the clouds and showed us the truth. The solar system isn't a quiet, perfect clock. It's a rough neighborhood. And Jupiter is the biggest, toughest kid on the block. Sadly, Juno's mission is almost over. In 2025, NASA is going to crash the probe straight into Jupiter's clouds. They have to destroy it on purpose, just to make sure it doesn't accidentally hit a moon like Europa and spread Earth germs there. It's a hero's ending. The brave little robot will die right inside the giant monster it spent years studying. But until that happens, Juno keeps sending us pictures. And every single picture tells us the same thing. The universe is weirder than we thought. So what do you think? Is Jupiter's fuzzy core proof that it smashed into another planet billions of years ago? Or is there another explanation? Let us know in the comments. We read every single one. If you enjoyed this trip to the edge of the solar system, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you want to keep exploring the cosmos right now, click on the next video I've linked for you up here. Thanks for watching, keep looking up, and we'll see you in the next one.